Hello and welcome to my channel, I Win to Lose Gaming. After what seems like an eternity, we finally have a brand new 5-star character, Lyney. In this video, we'll be attending Lyney's magic show to see just how magical a Constellation 0 Lyney is with a free-to-play friendly build. The 5-star sibling of the bunch is here to pat a fat cat in a hat in combat. Ain't that a fat strat? My young fat cat hat is using a Refinement 5 Hamayumi in the 4-piece Wanderer's Troupe. His talents are at 10, 9, and 9, and he is of course at Constellation 0 throughout this entire video. It's especially notable in this showcase that my Lyney can be significantly improved just by changing his artifact set to the new 4-piece Marichasi Hunter, or even the 4-piece Lava Walkers, but unfortunately I have not had the time to farm it. But really quick, I've got an incredible upcoming game to show you guys. Astra Knights of Vita. Astra Knights of Vita is an upcoming dark fantasy action RPG inspired by classic beat-em-up games with fast-paced, flashy combat. Dive into this story-rich world as the goddess Vita has selected you and your champions to save the world from its cursed existence. This game is filled to the brim with legendary champions, industry-leading voice acting, 200 cutscenes, and over 1,800 unique illustrations. The monsters in this game are gloriously terrifying, ranging from golden angel statues that pull lances out of themselves to the rotting undead. Astra Knights of Vita combines beautiful with horrifying in the best way possible. And an immersive and long story mode isn't all that's available. You can play with friends to purge the world of its vile abominations, or even have real-time PvP battles to prove that you're the most skilled gamer. There won't be any shortage of things to do, from its epic story, PvE and PvP content, powering up your characters, and so much more. Astra Knights of Vita will be available on both PC and mobile, and will feature cross-play between the different platforms. So what are you waiting for? Just smash that link down below to wishlist the game on Steam and join their official Discord server. Huge thanks to Astra Knights of Vita for sponsoring today's video. As usual, we start off with his normal attack, Card Force Translocation. Well, since Lyney is a charged attack character, unsurprisingly, his normal attacks which do physical damage are completely unmagical. But despite how unremarkable they are in terms of their damage output, I dare say that his animations deserve a standing ovation. As for his charge shots, well, this is where the magic happens. His level 2 charge shot, called the Prop Arrow, does a lot of stuff. First, it creates a Hat Cat where the arrow impacts. Next, this Hat Cat taunts the enemy and lasts for 4 seconds. Thirdly, when this cat hat is destroyed or expires, it launches a pyrotechnic strike at a nearby enemy and has a very juicy multiplier. Fourthly, if Lyney is above 60% HP, it will drain up to 20% of his max HP down to a minimum of 60% of his HP. This HP drain causes the Hat Cat's pyrotechnic strike to do more damage and generate a bit of energy thanks to his passive 1. Draining his HP also adds a prop surplus stack. And fifthly, once every 6 seconds, when Lyney shoots a prop arrow, a Spirit Breath does a tiny bit of damage at the impact site. But wait, that's not all. Shooting a prop arrow while there's already a Hat Cat will terminate the first Hat Cat and create a new Cat Hat. This is great for forcing Lyney to prematurely explode his Cat Hat at Cat. Lyney's passive 2, Conclusive Ovation, provides him a colossal 60% damage bonus if he hits an enemy with pyro on them, and just for good measure he gets 20% more pyro damage for up to 100% total bonus damage by having 3 pyro characters on his team, including Lyney of course. This is a massive boost to Lyney's damage, as 100% bonus damage is absolutely massive, and as we can see just by spamming some Hat Cats, our Regisfied friend has disappeared. Up next we have Lyney's elemental skill, Bewildering Lights. Lyney does a very quick hat attack, and if he has prop stacks, each stack will increase his hat attack's damage for up to 5 stacks. On top of this, for every prop stack consumed, he heals himself for 20% per stack consumed. Finally, if he has a cat hat on the field, he'll prematurely explode it, dealing AoE damage equal to how much that cat hat would have done with its pyrotechnic strike. It generates a whopping 4 to 5 particles, I believe, but has a very long 15-second cooldown. And for his closing act, we have his Elemental Burst, Wondrous Trick Miracle Parade. Lyney's Elemental Burst does an initial hit when he runs into an enemy. This running into the enemy damage can only be triggered once per enemy. Then, when his burst ends, it explodes with a very respectable multiplier and creates a free hat cat. You can even help Lyney prematurely explode again by ending his burst to spend less time in cat hat taxi mode. Let's now see Lyney's entire bag of tricks in action. Well, I think you could tell that her Registine friend wasn't going to stand a chance against Lyney based on the earlier clips. Personally, I like this rotation for Lyney a lot, as it outputs a lot of damage via multiple premature explosions. By using a prop arrow, then his burst, and then canceling his burst and immediately using his skill, we've prematurely exploded 3 times in a row, dealing huge amounts of raw pyro damage. Unsurprisingly, Lyney was able to make our Registine friend an unwilling volunteer for his disappearing act. Let's next take a look at what Lyney can do with some assistance to help him with his magic show. This first team will be a damage-focused mono pyro team with Bennett, Sucrose, and Xiangling. This triple pyro plus 1 animo will be a staple archetype for Lyney. Lyney does a massive amount of damage, and of course, Xiangling deals a massive amount of damage herself, and she even buffs Lyney's damage thanks to her constellations. Lyney just casually did around 370,000 damage with his triple premature explosion combo. Another great variation is to replace the Animo character on the previous team with Zhongli. This team makes it much easier to use Lyney since you don't have to worry about getting slapped around while he's charging his very long to charge hat cats. Zhongli himself isn't even a huge decrease in this team's DPS since he shreds resistance by 20% and provides 35% pyro damage with the Archaic Petra. And of course, we can mix up what pyro characters we use by swapping Xiangling out. For example, with Dea or Xinyan. Both Dea and Xinyan will provide Lyney with interrupt resistance, which will allow Lyney to output his very formidable hat cats, while also being able to still use an Animo character for grouping and additional damage. So what about Abyss 12? Well, this Abyss 12 is super interesting. It highlights one of Lyney's biggest weaknesses. Since Lyney is heavily reliant on a mono pyro team and the enemy having pyro on them to bring out his full potential, this means that he is rather pigeonholed into this single team archetype. This means that mechanics that are not pyro friendly are going to severely hurt his performance. Funnily enough, this Abyss cycle happens to have anti-pyro mechanics on both sides of Abyss 12. In 12.1.1, you can see here that this team is struggling against the Pyro Abyss Lector's Pyro Shield. I brought Xingqiu literally only for breaking this Abyss Lector shield, replacing a huge damage amplifier in the form of, for example, Sucrose or Kazuha. This means that we're running a suboptimal team with Lyney because we don't have any other choice. Now you might be asking, what about the second half of Abyss 12? The second half has the Algorithm of Semi-Intransient Matrix of Overseer Network, which, unless you have Quicken on your team, is an absolute nightmare to deal with. Lyney wants to run triple Pyro plus 1 Animo, which makes running Quicken, which requires a Dendro and an Electro character, extremely suboptimal to run with Lyney. It's quite interesting that MiHoYo released Lyney during an Abyss that counters him on both sides. Also, there's a lot of need for AoE damage, but fortunately, Lyney can function as an AoE burst damage character with his burst and elemental skill. since his triple premature explosion combo does some pretty good AoE damage. Now despite all this, and even with an underperforming Lyney due to the lack of the new artifact set, as well as a suboptimal team, Lyney is still an absolute beast in terms of just outputting raw pyro damage. Even with this suboptimal team, 12-1-1 took 87 seconds, 12-2-1 took 85 seconds, and 12-3-1 took just 44 seconds. I did also only try this a few times. Knowing MiHoYo, they likely won't introduce an Abyss 12 like this one that counters pyro on both sides for a very long time, but I might end up eating my hat, or perhaps my cat, over those words. So yeah, if you can't tell by now, Lyney's raw pyro damage output is quite good. However, it will take you quite a few weeks to reach this level of Lyney power due to needing boss materials and farming the new artifact set. However, once fully built, your Lyney will likely be much stronger than my Lyney in this video. Also, needing pyro to be on the enemy and having some rather restrictive team compositions means that he might struggle against more types of enemies than the average rest of the cast. For example, against enemies that cannot be pyroed like the hypostasis cubes, Lyney's damage falls off a cliff due to his second passive not working. And against pyro shields, well, none of Lyney's current optimal teams have a hydro character on them, which is a necessary evil to destroy pyro shields. And of course, he is a charge shot character, which on mobile is quite cumbersome to play to say the least. Still, he more than makes up for all his shortcomings and his short stature with his raw damage output, and can function quite well as a reasonably fast quick swap character, or even a sustained charge shot DPS character. Let me know what you think about Lyney in the comments below. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. This is I Win to Lose, signing out.